Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Des Moines Metro Market Update from Team IRG here for the April 2025 episode. My name is Junior Ibarra, and next here we have one of my business partners who is the CFO, Director of Ops, Mr.
Ryan Cahoy, pleasure to be here, everyone. And below me, I think, is
I'm Anthony Simon. I am one of the real estate professionals on the team with Team IRG. All right, so we are going to just kind of jump right into this. So, as always, the caveat to this, we are looking at single family houses in the Des Moines metro. Metro is kind of the overall encompassing metro. It's a 14.5 mile radius, is what I'm looking at. Basically, just captures everything that we can kind of consider the Des Moines metro area. But all right, so median sale price. We are staying really flat this year, which for buyers is great. Prices aren't pushing up. We're still up a little bit from last year, but we're just not seeing kind of that spring surge that we normally do kind of in that March, April timeframe. We're kind of staying real steady right at that, right around 325 for median sale price.
Yeah, and that can be different factors, obviously, so many different factors that play with real estate as a whole. Yeah, we'll see in one of the slides too, where we do towards the end here have more supply hitting the market than we've seen in the last handful of years, right? And so that could be an indicator to us too, which is good ultimately, because we need more inventory and pricing, man. I mean, you know, the last couple of years have been 3 to 5%, which is pretty normal. Yet the years prior, 15%, 11%. I think that's kind of like helping us normalize our metro market pricing, and I think that's good for the overall market.
would you say that too, like just inventory in general is just helping keeping that price constant, like with the general, I guess, Anthony, you'll have more more graphs on that, but like, is that what you feel is happening? It's kind of keeping it at that 325 level with the new inventory being
It
more
seems
than
to be that way. I mean, we're still seeing, I think, some price compression because I think there's still prices like around that $200,000 range is kind of really the new floor for like a nice habitable house. But stuff above, 450, 500,000 isn't really pushing up as quickly because there's just not as many buyers for that pool, and things are just kind of slowly creeping together. There's more and more houses kind of fitting in between that $200,000 price range, and yeah, I think we're just kind of seeing right now this must be the level of affordability that people are able to bear right now in Des Moines. And I mean, it's compared to other places, a very healthy, very inexpensive number for what you can get. I mean, I know $325,000 house is a pretty nice house here in Des Moines. This isn't bottom of the barrel pricing, but yeah, I think it's just with we're not seeing a huge surge in buy side demand, but we are seeing a little bit of an uptick in supply side availability. And I think that's kind of helping keeping this fairly flat right so far this year. We'll continue to see what May and June bring.
Definitely.
Days on market. So kind of on the opposite side of that, we are seeing everything kind of move a little faster. So I left in the last 3 months. So February, I mean, 36 days on market was median days on market for not including new construction because new construction numbers get a little bit crazy. But for single family resale houses, we were over a month was what the median was for days on market in Des Moines, and we haven't seen that in a long time. We're now just over 2 weeks, and let's hope that it'll flatten out right around 2 weeks because that would be great for everyone. Any faster and it just becomes a little bit of a crazy mess, and that's when you see prices kind of start going a little bit nuts is when we get under a week. So yeah, I'm happy to see that 15 days, and I hope it stays kind of in that range for the rest of the summer.
And remind me again, Anthony, this is both resale and new construction.
Days on market is only, I don't do new construction. Everything else
Okay.
is both.
Okay.
Just because new construction, with the way builders do stuff, they can list a house that's like in a new development and it'll stay active on the market for years.
Yeah.
And that's not helping actually show what the data is, or vice versa. They'll have something that's not on the market that's built and finished, and then they'll sell it off market, and then they'll post it, and then it's 0 days on market is what that number pulls in, and anything in between. So new construction is really hard to gauge what actual days on market looks like, and to not skew what we're seeing in the market as a whole, I just exclude it from this data specifically.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense because you're right. And that's where my mind needed that refresher because yeah, the new construction can be that whole variance that you just talked about. So, okay. Yeah, that
I
helps
mean,
with
I've
that.
seen 1,000 days on market for, yeah, I've seen 1,000 days on markets for a house, and they're like, oh yeah, well you can buy it, but we have this other one. That's the one you're actually going to use.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, for those model homes sometimes, or just in general, you just never know when they're putting it on the market from raw land to fully finished, right? So,
yep. All right, looking at number of houses sold. So we are still tracking lockstep with last year, mimicking really closely 2023. We are, just under 20 houses more year to date total than last year. But we are, I mean, we're seeing a fairly, identical year unit wise to last year. Month to month, we're just plus or minus just a tiny bit.
Wow.
So
yeah,
flat everything. If other markets are seeing a downturn, we're definitely just seeing the same. Steady as she goes.
yeah, the same as last year, essentially. We're like that math right there is what, 18 deals, almost 20. So, essentially the same thing. Yeah, it's still way, way lower than 2022 and 2021, right? So, yet a little bit of an uptick is a good thing. So, a reminder, the last couple years have been the lowest number of units sold in many decades, and so seeing this uptick is a good thing for our metro area for sure.
Even if it's only 18,
Yeah.
every little bit adds up.
Positive.
Positive. Let's go.
Yes, we're not seeing it slide. So number of houses sold. So I like to just look at kind of where the bulk of houses sold are. Normally we kind of flutter right between 80% of Des Moines sits between like um, you know up to 400,000 or sometimes up to 450. This is one of the first months that I've seen that we actually pushed into the $500,000 range to get over 80%. So we're, despite seeing median sale price be flat, I think we're starting to see this bottom shift up a little bit. And just, at least this month, that's where we're kind of just seeing this little bit of a shift where there's just more in that $400,000 range than what we've seen. Like that kind of goes against the very typical almost bell curve that we see almost every month. Um,
Could that
and
be, and
anecdotally, I know. Oh, go ahead.
oh no, I guess, and could some of that also be because, I mean, I don't know about you, but we're starting to see just less and less houses below 200,000, right? Like,
They just don't exist anymore.
yeah,
You know,
like they're
Yep.
I'd be
starting.
curious if you graph this over, the months to see how many of those were, it's 74 from 150 to 200. I wonder how much we've been seeing, if those are dropping off and pushing that 80% to that $500,000 range.
Yeah. I mean, we can go back and start looking like that 100 to 150 and just seeing how that number sits. I mean, that I think that is part of it, and then also like that 300, the 350. I mean, the $400,000 range is what we're seeing a lot of new construction priced at too. So once that starts anchoring at a specific price point, I think that's pulling this up a little bit as well. Just because new construction before has been a little bit more spread out, but we're just really starting to see everything kind of funnel to, again, kind of that same price range because that's
Yeah.
what's selling for them.
And I was just taking a quick look with one of our other agent partners, Donald, on new construction inventory, and there's been uh, quite a bit that just hit the market. Again, kind of one of those things where their houses are finished, and the intent was to finish them during, this time of year. when we tend to see more activity. And so there's quite a bit of, and a lot of them, like you said, anywhere from 3 to 350 or 350 to 400, depending on the side of the metro you're on or and the location, right? So you're right. We're seeing a lot of the new construction kind of hit those numbers.
All right, number of new listings, and this goes lock and step with that. If we saw a big kind of surge in new construction, we saw a pretty big surge in just active listings or new listings hitting the market here. Um, Looking at this graph's a little bit crazy, but this light blue line here is last year, so we're over last year by about 100, at least 100 units, and then from 2023 we're up almost 200 units for new listings in April. So we did see kind of a little bit of an uptick on new listings this month or last in April.
Yeah, I see that. That's again, that's good for us to to start seeing more active listings, more listings on in our market to help with just more inventory, more options for buyers, and just to stabilize the overall market so we don't see those huge inflation jumps. At the very end, remind me guys, I just out of curiosity, I typed in something into Chat GPT, and I want to share my screen at the very end.
All right, we're getting close. So last slide, active listings. So this is really just showing where we're sitting for active listings in the metro and how it's trending. Again, light blue line is last year. We're trending above last year. Still nowhere near what was normal pre-COVID, but we are ever so slowly kind of digging out of that hole where we saw, just over 1,400 listings at one point in Des Moines, where normally it was 3,400. So we were way, way, way down. We're starting to crawl back. Now we're at 2/3 of what we normally see. So not there yet, but we're coming back ever so slowly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's way better than that yellow line there. Man, that was interesting. And that's when we were 2022, 2023 where we had to drop everything as soon as a house hit the market, right? Like it was literally, well, 2021 and 2022 especially because the interest rates were so low, but and inventory was low. So any supply and
Oh
demand, but
yeah, in that low inventory, that's when we're starting to see inventory dropped off, and that's when we had that big jump. Um, you know,
price.
15% year over year price change is when everything, when there just stopped being new listings or the buyer demand went crazy. So yeah, seeing these roughly flat or slowly coming back is great. It's what we love to see.
Yeah.
Des Moines
Yeah,
still has a very healthy real estate market. We're coming back.
and I'm super excited. We got 18 more closings compared to last year. Let's go.
Yeah, shout out to us. So
Well,
that's all I've got for numbers for this month. So what do you have, Junior?
yeah, before we close it out, let me just share super quick. I was curious to know, now I slowly but surely, I don't know if you guys have seen this too, or I'm just speaking for myself. I haven't actually reflected on the numbers. But I did see a post about it. So about how more and more people are going to Chat GPT for questions and answers rather than maybe Google, right? Because there's a AI component that helps you just it goes out and finds all the data and gathers it and puts it in a more like human oriented format versus having to search for it, right? And so anyhow,
Mm-hmm.
you showed the price differences when supply went down and this and that 15%, and now we're a little bit more stable and whatnot. The biggest thing right now that I think right now is the best opportunity to purchase because you have time to make decisions. Pricing is stable. Interest rates are stable. There is, discussions, and you've heard it on the news of obviously tariffs and this and that, and, eventually interest rates dropping. Um, if that were to happen, there's still not enough inventory, to essentially, like that's going to push pricing right back up, like, or there's going to be multiple offers and you're going to have to compete. Right now, don't get me wrong, every now and again you are competing in multiple offer situations, but it's maybe one or two offers, or maybe none, but not like 15 other offers, right? And so the opportunity there is to lock in the stable pricing before it skyrockets. And if the interest rates do come down during that time, well, when prices go up, you locked in your price and you can still refinance and get that lower rate as long as it makes sense, right? Yet, the most important thing that I see is this, and my mentors always have told me the saying, don't wait to buy real estate and wait. So I just asked ChatGPT, I just typed in what has the what has been the average price home in Des Moines metro area by decade over the last 70 years, right? And so 50s, about 10 to 12,000, 60s 12 to 17, 70s 20 to 35, 80s 45, 75. You see it there, right? So even in like some big takeaways that I've seen in other graphs, and now ChatGPT makes it easier for me. And here it references where it's pulling the data, right? And this is I just put Des Moines, so this isn't necessarily matching with Anthony's like 15-mile radius component, right? This is just Des Moines proper, I believe. But couple takeaways, like no matter which decade you start with, beginning of the decade and end of a decade, is the price lower or higher? Higher, right?
I'm gonna say higher.
Great answer.
Thank
Yes,
you.
correct. Jeopardy. Answer $20,000. Right?
Nice.
And even here, when 2000s, right? Beginning of the 2000 era, and then what happened in 2007, 8, 9?
Went way down.
Yeah, right. Like, I mean, the biggest like crisis we've seen in our lifetime, right? Like I was in college, so I didn't even know what was going on. And even when I left college, I'm like, I still didn't know what was going on in 2010. Yet, obviously it hurt. I mean, it did affect my parents. I know they lost their house during that time, and it took them a while to kind of hit the reset button. And so I still didn't understand it though, like, right? And yet, ultimately, still the biggest thing that I take away from here, even at the beginning of that and at the end of it, the pricing was still up, right? So you always see kind of like those curves where it's up, down, up, down, up, down. But as long as you hold a piece of real estate over 10 years, the trajectory is up, right? And so the other piece that my mentor told me, and this looks to hold true, that every 20 years, everything doubles in price. The $5 footlong is no longer. That was what when I was in the 2000s. The $5 footlong, that was my go-to in high school, right? It's what is it now? $12. 20 years later, right? Well, real estate too. If you look at it, like 1950s, about 10,000. 70s, 20, right? To another 20 years, 20 to 30 or whatever. So 60 plus, right? Then 2010, whatever, 100, if you pick that out. If you pick in the middle here, 200, right? So every 20 years, everything doubles, and it looks like real estate aligns with that, right? So just know, for those of you that have multiple 20-year cycles left in your lifetime, and I pray everyone has a long life. Just know that you can reap the benefits of that, and you can chat GPT it yourself. Like, what is the average net worth of a renter versus the average net worth of a homeowner, right? And you can see those numbers, because don't make any mistake about it. When you're renting, you are buying a home. You're just buying it for the person you're sending that check to, right? And so anyhow, I think this is one of the best times to purchase. The path is in the math, as we like to say. I think this is the first time I said it on this channel. Well, we say it a lot behind this channel. And we'll start saying it more often. So if you want to put the number back up, Anthony, we're here to help. We're here to serve our community, our clients. Even if it's a simple question, or you want to geek out with us and follow the path is in the math in regards to real estate or anything in general, feel free to call the number that we have on Anthony's screen here. And there it is. Bada boom, right? 515-497-8133. And one of our teammates will help you out, or feel free to request for Anthony or myself or Ryan to talk to us or set up a time to jump on Zoom. We're here to serve, like I said, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Des Moines Metro Market Update, April 2025. Let's go.
All
Catch you on
right.
the next one.
See ya.